Hello and welcome. My name is Céline, and the other day I was walking around town looking like this. And that's when I knew it was time to film my winter knit picks video. I've got so many patterns to share with you. I got carried away last night. I just couldn't stop finding amazing stuff, which is a really good problem to have. I obviously have to be realistic with myself, knowing that I will never be able to get to all these patterns myself. There's just simply not enough time to knit everything. But I think it's important for anyone, and specifically for knitters, to keep on filling your cup with new inspiration, new ideas. That's how I keep myself motivated and intrigued and really excited about knitting, just being aware of the possibilities available to me. You just got so much to look forward to, and I just want to share that joy with you. So let's sit down, knit, grab a snack or a drink, and let's look at some nice designs. In case any of you are wondering what I'm wearing, this is my newly finished bubblegum cardigan. It's a self-drafted pattern, and the only reason I'm calling it that is because of the shades that I chose. It's literally Big Bubble color. I love it so much, and I can't believe I waited so long before making something in this shade. I finally feel complete. This yarn is the New Life Wool by Yarn that I got from Beautiful Knitters, and this pink shade is 4220 pink. Can't believe I remembered that, but it's very cool because this yarn comes from 100% recycled fibers, 65% of which is wool. And yeah, I made this cute little boxy fit cropped cardigan. It's a drop shoulder with a double knitted button band and a double folded stockinette collar. I wasn't planning on writing a pattern for this, but then I posted it on my Instagram and some of you asked if I was going to make a pattern, so now I don't know what I should do. I guess let me know in the comments if you'd be interested in the pattern for this cardigan. Let's dive into the winter knit picks. As usual, I'll begin with pieces that I've made myself and I can just show them to you. All of the patterns I'll be mentioning today will be linked in the description, so they're easy for you to find. This is the Fab Sweater by Clara Eggers. And by the way, I'm so sorry. I'll be butchering a lot of names today. I feel it. So I apologize in advance. I call it my Michelin Man sweater, and it's made in a two-tone brioche stitch. I used We Are Knitters The Wool in the shade Yarnicorn and Natural, which I think is such a gorgeous combination, and it's definitely what sold this pattern to me. I've literally been holding it for a minute and I'm already so tired because it's so heavy. This is the ultimate chunky sweater, not only because it's made with chunky yarn, but because it's knitted in brioche stitch, which gives a really thick fabric, so it's like crazy chunky. I'm gonna be straight up with you. This is not the most convenient garment to wear if you're going outside because it will most likely not fit under your coat. It's so squishy and cozy. I wish I had a little bit more yarn so that I could knit the body longer. It's a bit too cropped for me and my back does peek out sometimes and it takes away from the coziness that it could give me. But other than that, it's a pretty pleasant experience wearing this when it's really cold indoors. It almost feels like a weighted blanket, so it brings me comfort. It's cute. Another sweater that brings me a lot of comfort is my Marble Sweater by Petite Knit. It's big, it's slouchy, it's soft. My original intentions for this project was just to stash bust and use single skeins of random yarns that I had, which is, you know, why it's all melange random color looking. A lot of the yarn that I had was Drops Air, which is super airy and very soft, so it turned out to be a little cuddle of a sweater. It's a very simple and fast pattern made on super chunky needles, double folded ribbed collar, raglan, a little bit of German short rows, and then it just goes straight down with some nice thick ribbing at the bottom, and same goes for the sleeves. It's just a straight sleeve. I love the sleeves. I love how they're not tight to the wrist or anything. A couple of months ago, I released my very first knitting pattern, which was really fun, and it was of the Winnie sweater, which I think is really appropriate for winter, and I've been wearing it loads because it has a nice mock neck, so it gives that coverage. This design is entirely stockinette. It's got a saddle, shoulder, sleeve construction. It's got non-rolling edges on the neck, on the sleeves and on the body, and the sleeves are slightly bell-shaped. I think it's nice and elegant and it's very versatile. You can dress it up and down. I made it with Isier Soft, and this is the shade E8S, and I really like this yarn because it's a cotton chainette with alpaca blown throughout it, which means it's nice and breathable but still keeps you really warm. So I would love to make a Winnie in a lighter shade, and a few months ago Holst Garn had sent me a package with some yarn to try, and they included their yarn Chelo, which is a blend of alpaca and merino, and it's so cloudy and scrumptious. I think it would be perfect for the Winnie sweater. But yeah, that's just a little side note. Winter is the season when you can have the most fun with knitted accessories, so I'm just going to show you a couple that I've made. I recently finished the Orbit hat by Rose Knitwear. It's definitely a statement piece, a very specific style. My style is kind of all over the place currently. I just want to be everything at the same time. I thought it was fitting to make myself one of these, and it was so fun. It was so fast, very satisfying to learn this new stitch. I really recommend it, just even for the process of making it. It's so fun. Please remember to make a hood this winter. I really recommend it. And the one that I've made is the simple knit hood by Leah Like. I think it's such a good winter accessory. It's hard to accessorize in winter, I find. This is such a cutesy way to do it. You can just, have it on your head or off your head, and even when you're not using it and it's off your head, lying on your back, it's so cute. This wouldn't be a Woozy by Céline video without some mittens. To me, mittens represent the magic and the joy and the fun of winter. I've only recently discovered my love for mittens, so in reality I only have 2 pairs. So we have the Frost mittens by Inger Berg. I loved the yarn that I used for this. So this is Holstgarn Haya held with Lucia. And then obviously the stars of the show are the Songbird mittens by Erika Hoysa. I've shown these so many times, but here they are again. They are so majestic. I'm head over heels in love with this design, and I'm so happy I went for the hot pink and the white. There's just something so exquisite about knitting a piece that represents you so well and speaks to you so profoundly. I just can't stop thinking about mittens since I've made these. I was even talking to my friend Tao from the Knitting Swan, who makes my favorite knitting bags and needle cases, and we decided to host a mitten knit along together. So this is so exciting. So on the 1st of December to the 31st of December, we're just all knitting mittens. If you're interested in knitting whatever mitten you like, do it with us. Join our Instagram group chat where we can all talk about our mittens. We'll host a couple of Instagram lives where we can hang out. And then at the end, Tao will have some prizes for you guys. So she's got some gift cards that you can use on the Knitting Swan shop. You can register in the description. For the occasion, I've selected a couple more mitten patterns in case you need some more inspo. So let's look through those. The first pattern is really good if you don't want your mittens to be a statement piece with the color work design. This is something more subdued and super elegant. The Olay mittens by Palastrict. These are knitted in brioche stitch, and my favorite feature on them are the thumbing creases that you see on the palm. I think that's so pretty, such a gorgeous decorative element. I also really appreciate how the tip of this mitten is rounded out rather than pointy, like most mitten patterns. I think that makes it stand out and makes it quite special. Brioche stitch is also a really clever stitch to use for mittens, especially for colder climates, because it works up a thicker fabric. So I think it does wonders for the insulation. I found the Reindeer Moss mittens by Helene Magnusson. These are so cute. They recall the Icelandic landscapes, and I bet you they're such a treat to make because the gauge is 18 stitches. That reindeer will just show up in no time, and we love some instant gratification. I've seen a lot of mittens that were made with variegated yarn and then contrasted with a white. I love the look of that, and I think this would be a nice one to try it with. Next, we have a pair that I might actually make at some point. They're the Inge Gard by Maya Ackerstrom. They're just 3 little hearts. And look at the small hearts on the thumb. That's so adorable. I think I would make it in red just to make the most out of the hearts. I love that Latvian braids have a thickness to them, so they kind of protrude and really border the cuff beautifully. Something more songbird mitten vibes are the Squirrel Fun mittens by Knitting Lotta. It's just a little squirrel munching on an acorn surrounded by the forest goodness. If that doesn't sound good, I don't know what does. It says this pattern also includes photos, which is quite rare in a knitting pattern, so that's pretty fun. The gauge on this one is 40 stitches in 10 centimeters, which does sound like a lot, but they are mittens. It's actually not a lot of knitting, and especially if you're used to knitting sweaters, this will feel very, very fast to you despite the gauge being so small. It's also worth mentioning that when you're knitting something on such a small gauge, it means you're using quite thin strand of yarn, so your mittens won't turn out to be the warmest. They'll still be quite warm because then you have all the floats with the color work at the back, but you know, just letting you know, they're not the most warm mittens you can get. If you're after a design that's more geometric, that has more irregular shapes, I really like the Celle Bouvot by, I'm gonna say this so bad, Wenche Roald. The thing that sold this design to me is the cuff, which is made in this like fishbone stitch, and then it has an extra little band at the wrist with these pretty flowers and squiggles going around it. I love it. And then it's got this really pretty regular design on the palm and on the top of the hand. I think it's beautiful. It's so fun to think about what colors you're gonna make your mittens. I feel like all colors work, and you can definitely go crazy with your mittens. If you're scared of jumping into colorful garments, I think mittens is the perfect place to start, to go a little bit crazy and go for non-neutrals, colors that you've never experimented with. Last mitten pattern is so sweet. It's the Snow Hearts Mittens by Inger Berg, who's the same designer that made my frost mittens. And I love that she arranges the hearts in a way that they also look like flowers. I think that's super sweet. I know I have just recommended you use crazy colors for your mittens, but since I've done that with my first 2 pairs, I think it'd be nice at some point to make something in a color that's a bit more workable. So maybe a dark blue. I'm really liking the navy here that she used. Those were the mitten patterns that stood out to me. And it also got me thinking that I would love to design my own mitten pattern, you know, with its own like silhouette style drawing. But as someone who doesn't draw, I fear that's going to be really complicated, because whatever I draw has to be clear and identifiable enough where you can understand what it is, but then you also have to add more intricate detail for visual interest. I'm gonna attempt this, and I know I can't go into it without any prior study. Like, I need some sort of basics, because to be honest, I don't know where to start. I need some art lessons. And so I found some on Skillshare, who are kindly sponsoring this video, which is so fun because I used to use Skillshare like 8 years ago when I was studying for my IB diploma. The memories. So yeah, using the platform is super nostalgic for me. But if you haven't heard of Skillshare before, it's just the ultimate learning community platform for creatives. It houses thousands of classes led by industry experts covering all sorts of topics. So photography, cooking, illustration, crafts, music, all of it. Last night I started watching some silhouette drawing classes, so I found Marco Bucci's series where he takes you through gesture, silhouette, and form. Also, Vicky Barron's class on silhouette art gave me the idea that I can just snap a photo of something and then work from there to create the illustration for my mitten, which would be such an easier approach. Obviously, after that, I'll have to translate the illustration onto a gridded knitting chart, but that's a problem for another day. But yeah, very excited to challenge myself with this, and who knows, Woozy might have her very own mitten pattern at some point. If you'd also like to join the Skillshare platform to try out new creative outlets like me, the first 500 people to click my link in the description box will receive 1 month free trial of Skillshare. Let's talk about some jackets and cardigans that I would love to wear this winter. This first one I think is my favorite pattern in this whole video. When I saw it on Instagram, I couldn't believe my eyes. I thought it was so pretty, and it's the Crystollen cardigan. The designer is Knits Pour Moi. You know, when we all first saw the porcelain sweater by Knit, we were all shook. This gives me a similar feeling. It is of similar nature in the sense that the colorwork is similar, the color palette is the same as well, but there's something extra cutesy about it, and I think it's the collar. And also the wooden buttons. I think they work for this exquisitely. I love that most of the colorwork happens here up at the top, and then there's just a little sprinkle on the body, and then I love that it's bordered before the ribbing with a little motif. Next one is a fun boucle jacket that I found on the Knit and Note app. It's their cuddly jacket pattern, and I was quite fascinated when I saw this because it really looked like those store-bought like alpaca teddy bear texture jackets that you can buy. I think it comes down to the fact that they used non-boucle yarn for the ribbing just before the zipper. The execution of that is pretty neat, and I'm pretty sure they use multiple different strands, not just the boucle, so it adds that thickness and warmth. I do predict installing the zipper would be a bit of a nightmare. I've never installed a zipper before. I've made a zipper sweater for my dad. It was a quarter zip, but I brought that to the tailors and I was like, girl, please can you do this for me, because I simply can't. Another jacket, this one's pretty simple, but I have seen it in real life. A girl that I saw was wearing it. It's the Port jacket by Ozetta. I think it was recently released. It just stuck with me. It was so pretty, slouchy and cozy looking. I just wanted her to lend it to me. It does remind me of a My Favorite Things knitwear aesthetic. So if you're into that, if you're into how those sorts of garments fit, I think you'd love this one. To justify my fascination, I want to read what Ozetta says about this. So it features thoughtful design elements such as the shaped collar, tidy buttonholes and ribbing along the armholes. These details create a touch of modern elegance. The boxy silhouette ensures a comfortable fit, perfect for layering over other garments during cooler months. To make this, I would use the Issier Aran Tweed. I have the shade Confetti, which is my favorite from this line of yarn. It's this deep gray with rainbow confetti. It's so amazing. And then I'd hold some mohair, I think a dark gray. It'd be such a satisfying knit, worsted weight yarn, 17 stitch gauge. I've been following Leah from Kiss Kiss Rhinestones for quite a while, and she's been teasing her Vivian cardigan for months. And ever since the very first photo of it, I was so intrigued, and I knew it was going to be so cute. And now it's out and it is so adorable. So this is a ribbed zip-up cardigan. It's got a double layered collar and extra wide raglan, which is one of my favorite features about it. It kind of reminds me the shape of a halter top. I think she's been so thoughtful as to how the ribbing increases and decreases on the body and down the sleeves. You can just tell that so much thought has gone into the fit and the design of this. Even here she says that she uses techniques like provisional cast on and Japanese short rows. So she literally scouted for the perfect technique that would fit her vision and would make it happen. So I think that's really valuable in a pattern. She uses 3 strands. It's nice and chunky and I bet you super warm. It's just so cute. Speaking of cute, my friend, I have found the cutest cardigan on the face of the earth. It's the Moonbow cardigan. Now I know I always talk about food, but when I saw those pockets, I couldn't help but scream because they're the same shape of my favorite pasta, which is farfalle, okay? Actually, let me see if I've got some farfalle in my cabinet. Who am I? I don't have farfalle in my cabinet. Wow, cancelled. Never mind. I was convinced I was gonna have farfalle, but I don't. Anyways, did you see those pockets? Are you joking? It's sweet. It's cutesy. It's cottagey. I would totally make it in this color, you know, pinky. I think that fits. Maybe sage green or like a pastel blue. But you could also go more preppy with a navy blue. Opportunities are endless and I am unwell because this is so cute. Next is a beautiful pattern from Anne Wenzel. I've never gotten around to making anything from her, but I've been following her for years and I love everything that she puts out. This cardi cocoon is the emblem of a winter cardigan, I think. That cardigan that you would wear on the sofa, like on a Sunday, on a crisp Sunday evening. And I have a thing for honeycomb brioche or like honey cable pattern, which is what this is knitted in. I like the texture of it. It's nice and squishy, but then it looks super dainty, slightly geometric, but also quite organic somehow. It goes down to the knees. That's so good. I really need to make longer garments. Well, I'll also get to other longer garments in a second, but very yummy. The aesthetic I envision for this winter is elegance and almost that quiet luxury vibe. And when I saw the Camber Sands sweater by Coco Amor, this is a mock funnel neck sweater and it's got this beautiful dainty cable pattern all throughout it. And the thing that makes it so elegant is that there are no purl stitches to outline the actual braids and you can only see the twist of the cable. And I think that's so effective. When I saw it, I just fell in love with it. It looks super refined. And to me, that's very impressive because in my mind, cables are more rustic, more homely, but the way they're worked in this sweater is just a different type of energy. I 100% second her color choice. I would also go for something creamy like this. If I had to think a little bit outside the box, I might consider something like the Nelly and Eve Dale's 50/50. This is in the shade Foxglove Hedgerow number 2. Imagine this with a hand-knitted Aran maxi skirt. Off the back end of that, something else that screams elegance in my eyes is the terracotta sweater by Lanit. Specifically, in this color combination, it's mature but fresh. It's simple but also elaborate. Maybe it's the loose, soft, drapey fit juxtaposed with these quite strong and regular geometric shapes. It's beautiful how the colorwork bands are alternated with stitch patterns in the solid color. It's so unique. If you made the colorwork in blue, it would basically be the non-Christmas version of the porcelain sweater. You can make it look softer using some pastel pinks and pastel yellows or blues. But if you use something that's more harsh, like black, it'll make it feel a little bit more mature, a little bit more strong. I love that you can really play with that in this piece. Next, we have the Esther Genzer sweater by Scapel. This was in collaboration with Helena Moo, and ever since she released the first video wearing this, I was sold. I just want to go in those beautiful Narnia-like landscapes and wear this. It's like the ultimate skiing sweater. I've not been skiing since I was 8, but if I were to pick it back up again, I would wear this sweater for sure. If I'm not mistaken, this next one has gone around Instagram quite a lot. It's the Josephine sweater by Solvara Knitwear. She does it in this beautiful red. It's so important to pick a good color for the sample. I think it really sells the fantasy as a designer, and she did a great job with that because I would want it in red, I think. The gauge on this is pretty intense. It's 29 stitches, so definitely a labor of love. But at least it's a raglan sweater, so it doesn't look like the construction is too complicated. The sweater is worked with 2 colors, so the main color of the sweater and then the color of the petals. And then once you're done with all of that, you just duplicate stitch the center of the flower, which is nice. It's like one less thing to think about while you're making the whole thing. Imagine having 3 skeins of yarn attached to the sweater at all times. That's kind of painful. So glad it's duplicate stitch at least. Because this is knitted on such thin yarn, it would be a really good transition piece from winter to spring, especially if you chose some springier colors. I love a versatile piece that can be used across the whole year because you want to make the most out of your beautiful handmade knits, especially when the gauge is 29 stitches. When I was doing research and getting ready for my fall knit pics that I posted a couple months back, I found the Céline cardigan by Morica Knit, and I fell in love with her as a designer, and so started following her and encountered her Chantal sweater Chunky, which is so cute because it's a really nice iteration of ribbing without it being ribbed. This is made with an all-over slip stitch pattern, which I love the look of because I love how these slip stitches look a little bit bigger. I think it gives a really, really cute dynamic to the texture. One of the main things for me in the winter is to keep my neck warm, and this sweater does just that because it's got a nice big long neck. The way the collar is bordered with the little stitch shaping is also super cute. I have something similar on this cardigan here. I love it when patterns do that. I think it looks so neat. And yeah, it's a drop shoulder. It starts with the back and then you do this 2 separate shoulders and then you join everything in the round. One of my favorite types of constructions. I think it's so fun and fits really well. Depending on how heavy you want your sweater to be, you also have the option to pick the lighter version of the Chantal sweater, so that's always really nice. I feel like I keep on bringing up Sari Nordland saying that I love her, but I still have yet to make anything from her catalog. But when I tell you she outdid herself for this next pattern, the champagne pullover, girl, that is so stunning. I have a tricky relationship with cables. It's not often that I instantly fall in love with a cabled pattern. Usually I like smaller, thinner cables, something that resembles like a floral motif. But I'm telling you, when I saw this, I was completely head over heels in love right away, like love at first sight. There's actually so much going on in the sweater, and I'm surprised that I enjoy that. But I guess she's just so skillful. She managed to make it all work so harmoniously. Everything makes sense. There is ribbing, there are eyelets, there are braid-looking cables, but then there are cables that look like diamonds, and it all works somehow. It's so pretty. Definitely a lighter weight sweater that might not be the most appropriate for the London weather in the winter, but you know, if you live in a climate that's more forgiving, you might be able to get away with wearing this just because there's too many eyelets and a lot of air can just hit your skin through it, you know? I don't always associate winter with a blouse, but I found a couple that would be so cute for the festive season, I think. They're both from Augustine's. The first one is her number 16 pattern. It's for sure a specific aesthetic. It's not for everyone. It's definitely for me. I would love wearing this. I would feel like I'm from Bridgerton or something. It's a sculptural and voluminous blouse with puffy sleeves, ruffles, a draped skirt, which gives it a nostalgic feel. That's where we get the Bridgerton vibes. The neckline is squared, which is one of my favorite shapes. It looks so flattering, I think. And the upper part of the body is fitted, which is highlighted by the ribbons at the waist. That was the knitting equivalent of when you're reading a really yummy meal off of a menu and when your mouth starts watering. This is the knitting equivalent. Oh my gosh, I want to make it. But then we have a second contender from the same designer. It's her number 35 pattern. This one's almost the older sister of the one that I just showed, but she's all over lace and small cute cables. And then it's got this, I think it's double folded squared neck, which is really nice and warm. And then it has those little ribbons at the wrists. I love that design feature. I really want to make a design of my own that includes that. It just reminds me of a little candy. It's so cute. Let's look at her number 21 pattern. It's a beautiful dress. For some reason, making a dress is always out of question for me. But you know, I've made so many sweaters and cardigans at this point that I should probably venture into something more crazy. And you know, this pattern is deceiving because it looks crazy, but it's actually not, because the gauge is 10 stitches. That's so big. This might take less time and less knitting than a fingering weight sweater, potentially. The skirt looks like it's a lot of fabric. It's like almost like a soft pleated situation, so it might be more fabric than it looks. But you know what I mean, it's 10 stitch gauge. I've seen someone wear this in real life and it's exquisite. It looks like a little doll dress. It looks like you just strutted out of your dollhouse. It's so soft and drapey, and it's got a little bit of a lace, but it's mainly stockinette. So it's nice and timeless. It's pretty iconic. Imagine wearing this on Christmas morning. It's now time for accessories, and similarly to when I was talking about the mittens, where I think it's a good chance for you to venture into crazy colors if you're a neutral lover, these next patterns are also good ones to experiment with shades. So we have the penny tote bag by Morica Knit. Is it just me, or in the winter I need a huge bag because I've just got so many things to carry? I've got my mittens, I've got my beanie, I've got my chapstick, so much carrying stuff in the winter, way more than in the summer. This bag looks like it can hold everything that I take around with me during the winter, and I wouldn't worry about it stretching because the handle is super thick and kind of comes down quite wide and holds most of the body of the bag. It's not like the handle is attached by 2 centimeters, if that makes sense. So I think the construction is also clever in that way. Also, it's not knitted in stockinette, it's knitted in moss stitch, which is hard to see, but that definitely gives the fabric structure and strength. She also knits it quite dense because she holds a bulky and a light fingering weight yarn together to come to a 16 stitch gauge in the moss stitch on 4mm needles. Morica Knit knows what she's doing. She's providing us with a cute design that's also very practical. I don't really often knit socks, but when I saw the Christmas Chaos socks by Stitches and Chill, I mean, it was a no-brainer. This is so cute. Since I've discovered my colorwork mittens, chances are that my next sock will also be a colorwork sock, and who knows, I might fall in love with colorwork sock knitting as well. But this, first of all, is so fun, but then so up my alley. I love Christmas. I love that there's a lot of color in there, but then you're only using 2 colors simultaneously, so it's totally doable and it's not crazy and it's not like you have 17 skeins hanging from your project. We've got some gingerbread houses, gingerbread men, some bells, some hearts, some trees. This is just amazing. Want to know the best thing about these? The pattern is free. One of my favorite knitting podcasters is Danish Musings, and she often knits for Agio Knit, I think that's how you pronounce it. And I believe she also knitted this pattern that I'm about to suggest. It's the Gujo collar. This is an Aran weight neck piece knitted in an 18 stitch gauge on half fisherman's rib stitch. First of all, it looks so warm, but then it looks so high-end and chic. It makes you look expensive, especially on top of this coat that she has in this photo. I think if you're able to layer these sorts of neck pieces on your coat, it creates a very well-tailored look, and I think that's what makes it look quite expensive. If you enjoy the look of this collar, you can actually enjoy the Gujo sweater. Guyo sweater is basically the same thing. You are not catching a cold with this on. You know how you're also not gonna catch a cold? By wearing the hood scarf by Lily Tobias. I love a 2-in-1 moment. A hood that's also a scarf sounds literally like what I need. Gauge is intense for this one, is 42 stitches, but that's 2x2 ribbing unstretched, so it's not that bad. You knit it on a sport weight using 3.5mm needles. So I reckon this would be a little bit of a labor of love. I think I would use maybe some sort of hand-dyed yarn to make it a little bit more fun. Or something like this. This is the Rosa Pomar Mondim in the shade 203. This would be super fun and make it a bit more interesting. Ribbing can get a bit repetitive at times, but if you're working it up with a fun yarn like that, I'm sure it will be much better. It's getting super dark outside and I hope the resolution of the video is not suffering from that. So let's just speed through the last couple of patterns. I fell in love with the November neck by Petite Knit when she posted about it because it looked like armor and I love the look of that. It exudes confidence and I think it'd be really fun to work. You get the fun out of brioche, which after a while can be lengthy, but this is only a small project so it wouldn't last too long. And then you've got all the increases that come out the neck, the double knitted button band. I might make this eventually. Next, we have one that's so interesting when I saw it. I just couldn't believe my eyes. This is the fake sweater scarf, and that's literally what it is. It's a scarf that looks like a sweater. It's not a sweater that you can wear because it's just like a back panel with some arms, essentially. This is by Paula Strict, who, can I just say, is a genius for doing this. I guess it only makes sense to make this if you tend to pick out a sweater for the sole purpose of wrapping it around your neck. I know me, I would probably do that only with the intention of eventually actually wearing the sweater at some point. So I don't know if that would make sense for me. Or maybe it would, because the reason I don't often style myself like that, I don't often put a sweater over my coat, is because the sleeves usually aren't long enough to wrap all the way around my coat and make a nice knot without it looking like I'm super constricted. I wonder if all it takes is this, where I can make this fake sweater scarf. I can actually make it look good and I can finally jump on the bandwagon. I think it's worth a try. It's knitted on a 19 stitch gauge and the pattern is free. I don't know about you, but the cold gives me a headache, so the Weekend Headband by Petite Knit I think would be really good for my headache, especially when I go for a big grocery shop and I'm in the fridge aisle for a long time. This would be so good and I reckon my mom would love it. I should make it for her at some point. Worked in the round 1x1 ribbed and folded double, which makes it super, super chunky and warm, and it's nice thick band. And I think it also can look quite stylish, you know? Another headpiece is the Bala Bonnet by Simone Berg. I've seen this around on Instagram quite a lot, and it's a 9 stitch gauge balaclava bonnet hybrid sort of thing. It's really, really cute. You've got a little bow at the chin. I bet you can turn this around in a day, in a couple hours, just because it's such a small piece with a big gauge, and really adds to your outfit, just makes it adorable. It's like you've just gone orange picking or something, you know? We're on to the last pattern, which is actually more of a technique. I guess the technique is a pattern for a scarf, essentially, and it's a video from Rose Knitwear, which I'll link in the description box, and she shows you how to slip stitch and weave in scrap yarn, so to use up your yarn stash and make a funky little scarf that's so, so fun and unique, because no one's scarf is gonna look like yours because no one has the same yarn stash as you. Honestly, I could go on and on, but it's too dark anyways and it's gonna be painful for you to watch. I would love to know what your winter knitting plans are looking like. Is it super cold where you live? Do you have to go really, really chunky with your knitting to keep warm? Because here it's -1 degrees. Remember to let me know what you're knitting on. Side note, I had the time of my life at my first Instagram live that I did with my housemate Margot. It was so much fun. I was so nervous and excited. But yeah, let me know in the comments if you joined that Instagram live. I will definitely be doing more because it's just so much fun. Before I go, I'll leave my Instagram on screen in case you'd like to follow my creations more in real time. I must say I've been talking for a long time. Now I have a sore throat, so I'm gonna go on vocal rest. I feel like this happens quite often, that I need to go on vocal rest by the end of a video. But yeah, I am so happy that you stuck to the end of this video. I really, really appreciate your company. And yeah, I wish you a lovely day and I hope to see you in the next video.